We have arrived at the final round of 2013 in what has been yet another incredible ANZ Championship season. The Adelaide Thunderbirds have wrapped up the minor premiership for the first time in the club's history. The defending champions, the Magic, look bound for the finals, all but ending that dreaded premiership curse. The Vixens are in trouble, the Steel are now gone. There's plenty to talk about today as I say hello and welcome to Centre Pass, the official video podcast of the ANZ Championship. Dan Ryan here alongside former Australian captain Kath Harby-Williams. Kath, plenty of news coming out of the ANZ Championship this week, none more so than the announcement of Monia Gerard. She's decided to put her playing career on hold as she chases her Olympic dream of a rugby sevens berth at the Rio Olympic Games. She's saying she's not retiring, however she'll be unavailable for the Australian Diamonds later this year and the New South Wales Swifts next year. Read into that as you may. Yeah,
well, you've got to commend her on her athleticism. There aren't too many players out there who could move from sport like netball to rugby sevens, but look, she's a fine athlete. She's been around for a long, long time, and at her best, there was none better really. She was exciting, she brought the crowd to their feet, she had a go, she was a really good competitor, she was a great character off the court as well as on the court. So she's going to be sorely missed, but in terms of her career, it's good timing because I think the games that we are so used to seeing Monia play in terms of being at a high level aren't as regular. So she needs to be refreshed, and if that means going away for a couple of years and trying to achieve a dream that she has, then good luck to her. So, we've got to praise her for what she's contributed to netball, and hopefully she can do the same for rugby because, she's an outstanding athlete and she deserves success.
Absolutely. Rugby is certainly in her blood, and we wish her all the very best for her Olympic dream there, Monia Gerard, co-captain of the New South Wales Swifts. Let's reflect back now on the penultimate round of the competition, round 13, with all of the results. Of course, it started with the Adelaide Thunderbirds claiming the minor premiership for the very first time with a come-from-behind win against the Northern Mystics, a 16-goal margin in the end. The Firebirds held off a persistent New South Wales Swifts outfit in what was a great tussle. The Queenslanders winners by 52 to 48. A blockbuster clash between the Magic and the Vixens certainly delivered the goods. The Magic too good on home soil, taking that one 56 to 51. The Fever responded after a poor showing last week to please coach Norma Plummer with a 12-goal win over the Southern Seal to end their finals chances. And the Canterbury Tactix bagged 73 goals to defeat the Canterbury Tactix with 59 to round out round 13. As we take a look at the competition ladder with just one round to play, the Thunderbirds cannot lose top spot. Second, third and fourth, Kath, still plenty of potential for those positions to change.
Yeah, I guess what happened last round, Dan, is the Steel were completely eliminated. They cannot play finals netball this season. The Pulse a mathematical chance of playing finals netball, but they need to win by 40-odd goals and they need to rely on the Vixens or Magic losing. So you could say it's highly likely that the top four will remain. It's the order that begs the question. But if you just look at the form of those players, Dan, Thunderbirds and Firebirds, good for a half. Vixens, wheels are starting to fall off. The only team that seems to be on the rise is the Magic, yet it could be very difficult for them to win if they finish in fourth position because they won't get a home final. So this year more than any, I think, really lends itself to a surprise victor. It's very hard to determine the team that's going to win because none of those teams are in absolute form at the moment.
And as you mentioned last week, looking very likely to have our first double premiership winner for the first time in the competition. Well, let's turn our attention now to round 14, the final round of the competition. It's come around so quickly. The first game will be played in Melbourne on Sunday afternoon. It is the Melbourne Vixens hosting the West Coast Fever. We know the form and fortunes of the Vixens. The past 2 weeks, they've lost to the Swifts, again to the Magic last week. The Fever, pretty good against the Southern Steel, hit a bit of form. This is a dangerous one for the Vixens because they don't want to lose 3 in a row heading into the final series.
Absolutely, and the winner of a competition like this goes into finals with form. And we saw that with the Magic last year when they won 14 games or something ridiculous in a row. So they need to win this one and they need to win it well. They're not far off, Dan. That the majority of their game is solid, but when they fall away big time. And I think it's their transition from defence into attack that lets them down, and their strength, the defensive effort of all their players at times goes missing. So if they can just elevate those, then they'll be fine. I think they'll be too strong for the Fever because it's at home, and they're a proud bunch. And they've got Simone McInnes at the helm, and she doesn't settle for falls. So I think it'll be a really good effort by the Vixens leading into the finals.
The Vixens still potentially could finish as high as second if they have a good win against the Fever and the Firebirds fall short against the Thunderbirds. That is the game we want to talk about next. The Adelaide Thunderbirds hosting the Queensland Firebirds. It's first versus second. The Thunderbirds, of course, on an 11-game winning streak. The Firebirds also in good form. When they met in round 4, I think it was, Kat, sorry, round 6, it was a 1-goal win to the Thunderbirds. No Nat Von Berto there. How have you assessed the forms when they come in this time around?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. I think think if I was going to give the edge to someone, it's probably the Thunderbirds, and that's because of the fact that they've won, is it 10 in a row, Dan?
Yep, going for their 11th, yep.
Which is an amazing feat. A lot of those games have been really close, but the fact is they have won them, and under pressure they're very good. So it's going to be a really close game. The Firebirds won by 4 goals against the Swifts last week in what was a game of 2 halves again. So really those teams are evenly matched. It's the team that can put out that consistency, because that's what both teams are missing at times. They've got the goods to go all the way. I'd probably tip the Thunderbirds just because it's at home, and a real psychological test for both these teams, because it's highly likely they will come up against each other the week after. If you go down in this one, you go into that next game just questioning yourself a little bit. So a big game for both sides.
It's a tough one for the Thunderbirds, isn't it? Because theoretically they can't move off the ladder. The Firebirds, though, they are fighting for that second chance. So plenty to play for the Firebirds, more so than the Thunderbirds. But you mentioned that mental edge come that semi-final.
And that's what it's all about. Those players at the Thunderbirds, if they were young, you could say that's possibly a danger. But a lot of those players have been around for a long time, and they've got a coach who really is of a great competitive nature. So, the Thunderbirds will know that they need to win that one before that following game, because they get an opportunity to win that first final and get a home grand final, which does make a difference at times.
Nat Von Berto 2 up against Kim Revuillan, the master against the apprentice. That should be a great tussle there. The Thunderbirds hosting the Queensland Firebirds. The next game we want to talk about is also on Sunday over in New Zealand in Invercargill. It is the Southern Steel hosting the Central Pulse. A 3-goal win to the Pulse when these two sides met earlier on in the year. The Pulse still mathematically an outside chance to make the finals. They need to win. They need to win very well. It's hard for them considering Janelle Fowler's their opposition goal shooter, who's going to score a lot of goals.
Exactly, they need to win by 40-odd goals, and we know Fowler on a bad day shoots 45. So, look, they're going to be disappointed because I don't think they'll be playing finals netball this year, but they'll take positives out of it. They've been on the rise for the last 2 years since Broughton has come in. She's recruited well with Leota and Wilkins, etc. They could highly likely finish in 5th position, and then next year will be their real push towards finals. But the key for them is Broughton. It's unsure as to whether or not she will stay. Leota has come out saying if Broughton's not there, then it's highly likely I won't come back, because her family is actually residing in England at the moment. And Wilkins, there's always a question mark over her. But I think if Broughton stays, those two players may well stay as well, thinking let's give the Pulse one more push to see if we can get them up and play finals netball.
Important game too for the Steel, because there's a lot of speculation as to where Janelle Fowler might end up next year. She's probably the hottest prospect in netball at the moment. In terms every club would want her services. So the Steel would love to get a win just to make sure they keep Janelle on their good side.
Yeah, well, I can tell you they are doing everything. A couple of weeks ago they had a theme, the Jamaican Jam, and that was all aimed at Fowler to show her that she is being embraced by the community and they value her worth. She knows that she's a valuable asset to anybody. I think she'll just bide her time and perhaps not sign with the Steel until she can talk to other clubs. I know she's enjoyed her time at the Steel, but if someone throws a lot of money at her, it'll be hard for her to say no. But at the same time, the Steel are pretty well cashed up, so it's going to be very interesting. And she can take any team to the finals, so they really need to keep her.
They certainly do. Turning our attention now to Monday night netball, kicking off in Tauranga. It is the Magic, the defending champions, up against the Northern Mystics. These two sides met just a couple of weeks ago. It was a 10-goal win to the Magic. As you mentioned, they are in form. They are building at the right time of the season. They really want to nail this one to prepare for the weeks ahead.
Yeah, and talking about player movement, Dan, there's a lot of speculation that because Tarua's going, that the likes of Langman, Van Dyke and Kopua might look elsewhere just to freshen up a little bit, because they have been the stalwarts of that club. So they'll want to finish this season on a high. For the Mystics, they're going to finish on the bottom of the table, and that's hard to believe considering they played finals netball last year. But the player to watch for them is Bailey Mez. Last few weeks, a couple of weeks ago against the Magic, she was the best player. She's one of the best against the Thunderbirds in a losing side last week. So she's really putting her hand up, in terms of national selection, and also for the Mystics, saying, look, I know Latu's here, but at the moment I'm performing better than she is. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out over the off-season as well.
Certainly will. And the final game of the round 14, will be the New South Wales Swifts hosting the Canterbury Tactix. The Swifts will finish in 8th, the Tactix will finish in 9th, irrespective of the result in this one. This one's all about, though, the Swifts, Kath. It's going to be an emotional game for them. We know that potentially this could be the last game for Monia Gerard if her rugby career takes off. So it will be good to see her finish on a high. And also Vanessa Ware too. She's retiring at the end of this game for the New South Wales Swifts. So plenty of emotion in this one for the Sydney Siders.
Yeah, which will drag them across the line. But also they're playing very good netball. They pushed the Firebirds last week. They won the week before against the Vixens. So they've come good at the end of the season. But it's going to be a very emotional game for them. But I think they'll go out winners, all those players. And look at the Tactix, Dan. I guess if you're sort of talking tactics, that you can compare them to where the Steel have been and where the Pulse have been. They're two clubs that are on the rise. Tactix, Harton has been such a good recruit that they're really missing some defensive power, so they really need to look at their recruiting strategy because, they've been struggling for so long. They really need a boost to try and get a player who's going to take them up a few cogs because, some of those players you just can't handle losing week in, week out, and some of them have been doing it for a number of years.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple of years there for the Canterbury Tactix, that is for sure. Time now to turn our attention to our tipping competition. I've been in front since round 2, Harbs. You've had a ripping opening round and then fallen off the pace. There's still 2 the difference between us. 4 from 5 last week. Take us through your tips for the final round of the competition.
Oh, I wanted you to go first, Dan, because then I was going to change my tips. But look, a lot of them, I think, speak for themselves, but we'll see. So Vixens too strong over the Fever because they're at home. Thunderbirds, I think, just travelling a little bit better than the Firebirds. The Pulse, I think, will be too strong for the Steel, but that one I was a little bit unsure about. And Magic going into the finals, they've hit form at the right time. Too strong for the Mystics, and the Swifts will go out with a bang because of Ware and Gerard retiring.
Good tipping, Harbs. Now we're going to keep tipping through the final series, so you've got plenty of time to catch up.
Good.
I'm going the same way as well. Vixens over the Fever, Thunderbirds against the Queensland Firebirds, the Pulse just over the Steel. That could go either way, but perhaps the Pulse in that one. The Magic far too good for the Mystics on this occasion, and the Swifts to wrap off the win with sending off Monia Gerard and Vanessa Ware away in style. That is all we have time for this week's episode of Centre Pass. Thank you very much for joining us. Catherine, thank you for all your insights once again. Make sure you check out the ANZ Champs website for all of the broadcast details for round 14 of the competition. Until next time, goodbye for now.